This week on Storyboard, we are in conversation with Cheuk Chiang, CEO Dentsu Creative Asia Pacific, on how the agency is accelerating its creative footprint to become more future-ready. And ahead of Children's Day, we caught up with Elavia Jaipuria, Head Hindi Mass Entertainment and Kids TV Network, and Sikka, Head Creative Content and Research, Kids TV Network, Viacom 18, on creating homegrown IPs in the kids genre. Hello and welcome to Storyboard. I'm Shivani Gharat. We are in conversation with Cheuk Chiang, CEO Dentsu Creative Asia Pacific. He was visiting India this week along with the entire Dentsu APAC top brass. That is how important India market is for us, he says. Since taking on his new role earlier this year, he mentions how the entire focus for the agency is on doing great work. He also shared how the agency is investing in its creative reputation and accelerating its creative footprint to become more future ready. The complete integration of Dentsu is all set to happen by the end of this month. So we will have to wait and watch how the future unfolds for this agency that has been through a lot over the past 1 year. Till then, let's hear this conversation. Cheuk, welcome to CNBC-TV18.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
So, Cheuk, you are the newly appointed CEO of Dentsu Creative for Asia Pacific. What has been your immediate mandate since June when your appointment happened, and how much has been achieved so far?
When I got appointed in the role, I sat down with Fred Levon, who's our Global Chief Creative Officer. And he said to me, we have one priority, and that priority is the work. I went on a mission. I spoke to our CCOs, I spoke to our CEOs, I spoke to many clients. And out of that, we've come up with a plan, and that plan is delivered across people, process, partnerships, and also promotion, reputation. Across all of those 4 areas, the goal amongst each of those areas is to help us deliver better work. So, for example, with people, a big part of that is, unlike any other industry, in our industry, particularly the creative industry, relies hugely on talent. So if you think about Dentsu as a whole, we have 3 particular service lines: creative, media, and CXM. CXM relies, because it's data, relies a lot on process. Media relies on process and people. Creativity relies a lot on people. So off the back of that, we've done a wholesale review of all our talent, particularly across the top 6 markets. And then we've looked at bringing in new talent that can help us ultimately get to that objective of better work. And then we've looked at process. What's clear to us is we've moved from many brands into one. So I've been working very closely with the global team. We've come out with a new creative briefing format. The exciting thing about that format, which makes it different, is rather than focusing on propositions, which most creative briefs are focusing on, we're focusing on provocations. So it's about taking insights, powerful human truths, and then articulating them in a way that's provocative. That's how we make our propositions.
Can you tell me an example on that?
Many insights that surround the Dove campaign. The category insight is, for example, sex sells. That's the beauty category, right? When it comes to the consumer, the insight that campaign plays to very well is that when it comes to beauty, women are their own worst enemies.
Correct.
So hence, that's why the Dove campaign is so powerful, because they've used that insight but expressed in a very provocative manner. And then when it comes to partnerships, the focus is going to be on, in every market, setting up account plans with our clients. Now, that's not to look at commercials. That's looking at working with our clients to change the narrative. And that narrative is really around how can we help them do better, more creative work. The other partnership thing we're doing is really leveraging our partnerships with some of the big platforms like Meta and Google, ByteDance, TikTok. So what we're doing with them is we're setting up these joint business plans. We're doing a number of things with them. We're setting up a lot of one-off initiatives, and we're partnering with them to launch a lot of the new products and tools that they've got. In fact, in India, with YouTube, we're partnering with them to do a lot of work with their new YouTube format next year, which plays to e-commerce. And then finally, on the promotional front, I think the thing that we've been is everywhere previously, and we've got to be very focused on how we communicate. We want to be known as experts in terms of creating culture, changing society, and inventing the future.
Yeah. Also, you said the new date for this entire integration and formation of Dentsu Creative is set for November 28th. It will be formed with, these sprawling set of agencies that you have, which are brands in their own individual rights. How are the cultures merging, and how are people, which are your core for Dentsu Creative, how are the people taking the whole integration?
To your question on the various cultures, the other thing we also took into consideration was how can we leverage the very best of what we've got now? In many respects, the heritage of Taproot has very much been around building brands and creating culture. If you think about brands like Isobar, they've very much been about inventing the future and leveraging technology. If you think about changing society and inventing the future, you think about brands like Web Chutney. So in many respects, what we've done is we've taken areas of strength in what we've got to then build out the blueprint for the future.
So finally, we can say that this entire exercise is over, or it's still ongoing?
Externally, a lot of people have looked from afar at what's been happening at Dentsu, particularly with a lot of the people that we've exited, and thought that there must be something going on at Dentsu that's not positive. The way we like to look at it is that we've been bold enough and brave enough to step away from legacy structures, think about how we can plan for the future, how we can structure for the future, how we can structure to be client-centric. And that's why we've done what we've done. So if you think about the proposition of Dentsu Creative, it's around what we call modern creative. So modern creative is work that creates culture, changes society, and invents the future. So what we've done is we've looked at our structure and we've embedded the ability for us to generate work that delivers against modern creativity. So as an example, one interesting thing is that when it comes to insights, particularly cultural insights, we've had teams that have sat in media departments. Interestingly enough, over the last 30 years, it's been very rare for a creative agency to have insights or data teams sitting within their business. So we've made some structural changes. We've brought cultural insights specialists in, which sit in the strategy team to help uncover these cultural insights, to help us generate work that delivers against that.
What is the difference or similarity when it comes to the India market as compared to the global markets from a creative business perspective?
It's really India's time now. We've always had a very strong heritage of great creativity here, right? But got to remember that this is the first time that India's really shone in the way that it should be in Cannes. I think that the quality of work is at the right point now. And for us, that's what's inspiring for the rest of the world. So I would say the quality of the work is much better here. Every market has its time, right? New Zealand for a long while, Thailand for a while, had great work. I think now, at this time, it's now India's time to shine.
And what are the things that excite you, as a leader, about the creative business in the coming days?
For me, it's really the ability for us to leverage data to then create narratives, but not in the way that we've done before. We've always had data. We've always had research. In fact, in the old days, a planner would have a pile of research reports that they would look at. The beauty of today is that we've got big data and we've got technology and machine learning to help us analyze that big data, to uncover insights, particularly cultural insights for Dentsu, to then better connect with consumers and inform our thinking. I think that's where the next wave is going to be.
And, the integration of Dentsu Creative and the formation of Dentsu Creative is going to happen towards the end of November. Cheuk, where will it stand as compared to these legacy traditional creative agencies which are really strong in the India market?
There's something that Dentsu has that is quite unique. Primarily driven by the fact that we've made more acquisitions than any other holding group in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
What it's allowed us to do is build strong capability across creative, across media, and across CXM. So when a client works with us, the solution may not just be a content or a creative solution. It could be a solution that's driven by data or a solution that is a very strongly media-driven solution. So I'm very excited by that because what it means is the canvas that we've got to work off is much broader than just creative.
And what will be the key focus areas for this Dentsu Creative in the next year, since it's happening a little shy from the new year?
There is a plan in place that looks at how we can drive growth, of which there are 3 horizons. The first horizon is incremental revenue growth. And that's through on-selling capabilities that help clients solve problems. And really they are within 3 areas. 1, entertainment. Second area of experience. And the third is owned. The second horizon of growth is going to be new clients and new logos. So that there's a renewed focus on taking a hunter mentality rather than a farmer mentality. And then the third area is really around strategic growth, which is strategic acquisitions. We either build, borrow, or buy to build out our capabilities.
All right, Cheuk, thank you so much. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much. Namaste.
It is now time for a short break. On the other side, ahead of Children's Day, we caught up with Neena Elavia Jaipuria, Head Hindi Mass Entertainment and Kids TV Network, and Sikka, Head Creative Content and Research, Kids TV Network, YCOM18, on creating homegrown IPs in kids genre. Welcome back. You're watching Storyboard. Ahead of Children's Day, we caught up with Neena Elavia Jaipuria, Head Hindi Mass Entertainment and Kids TV Network, and Sikka, Head Creative Content and Research, Kids TV Network, YCOM18, on creating homegrown IPs in kids genre. To give you some background, more than 2 decades ago, the kids genre in India was shaped by Cartoon Network in the 90s, as it was the first channel to be launched in the genre back in 1995. Since then, the genre has seen many players catering to preschoolers and tweens. While Cartoon Network occupied the majority of the market with its international content for a long time, post that, its sister channel Pogo climbed to the top with its local hero Chhota Bheem. Then came Turner, followed by Nickelodeon, which took over with its local content and a few international shows. Since then, it has focused on launching one homegrown IP each year to maintain its leadership position and expanded its presence further by localizing its content. We spoke to Neena and Anu on this and about creating their most popular IP, Motu Patlu. They recently celebrated their 10th birthday. So how was this comic strip in a kids magazine, Lotpot Comics, recreated for TV, the challenges, advertising interest, and much more? Let's hear this conversation. सबसे पहले आप दोनों को 10 साल की ढेरों शुभकामनाएं।
थैंक यू थैंक यू थैंक यू थैंक यू थैंक यू थैंक यू
Neena and Anu, it was so good to have them on the show, right?
Absolutely.
Now I'm really keen on knowing the journey and the whole evolution of these two characters, which was brought to life by you guys 10 years ago. So let's begin the conversation.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Back then in 2012, Neena, let's begin this conversation with you.
Sure.
Did you imagine the kind of raging success that Motu Patlu is today, that something like this would happen?
So honestly, hand on heart, I must say a no. But I think from then to now, it's been a decade of entertainment, entertainment and entertainment.
Yeah.
You know, we literally celebrated Motu Patlu's unshakable love, and then with love comes leadership. That's what happened in the last decade, to be honest. And in one sentence, if I were to tell you what happened, was that they were just simple, homegrown characters and tunes, which have today become global icons.
Correct.
And they continue to win hearts
Yeah.
across the world.
Yeah.
That's in one line the journey,
yeah,
of course.
yeah, yeah.
But if I start back in 2011,
Yeah.
when we were discussing, and the environment at that time was that most kids entertainment channels had international content.
Yes.
There was just about absolutely none or very few Indian IPs at that point of time. And so we were discussing, and of course these characters then came to life because they were born in a kids magazine called Lotpot.
Yes.
We gave them life and brought them onto a television screen by partnering with Cosmos Maya.
Yeah.
And then, of course, today they've gone even beyond screens.
Yeah.
They're now into digital, gaming, licensing, consumer products.
Yes.
So whether you're talking about stationery, apparel, homeware,
Yeah.
toys, all of that.
So our task was, we just took these two characters and we made it more contemporary. We gave stories to these characters, or we brought these characters into stories which were more relatable with the kids of today's time. For us, of course, the biggest challenge was we were creating a show with two adult protagonists who are going to be entertaining kids. So what we basically then did was give attributes to these characters which children could relate to, and that was friendship. We know how friendship is important to kids.
Yeah.
After the family, it's all about friends. So we made that friendship between these two characters so amazing that it became aspirational, it became relatable with children. So that's where the journey started from. We just took these two characters, actually created some additional characters as well, which were more contemporary, with which children could have fun with or they could relate to.
That's wonderful. And what did it do for Nick in India? What was its impact on the kids genre?
What it actually did for the channel itself is that it brought us to the pole position, and we've been ruling the roost for almost 8 consecutive years at the #1 position, with the franchise being at a 30% market share. So it became went on to become a game changer for the category of sorts across all the stakeholders. And when I say that, I mean it was not just about kids, but it was about family, parents, about the co-viewing that the channel got as well. And then, of course, moving on to the animation industry and the much needed impetus it gave there. And last but not the least, the advertisers as well.
Yeah.
I mean, we had a fabulous, and we'll talk a little more about that in detail. But having said that, I think it gave us that pole position, which we're still kind of ruling even today. And it also actually traveled overseas. So this is one such, made in India toon property, which is, by the way, the largest toon property in India. But it's also crossed, the geographies now, and kids and families are watching them in Southeast Asia, in MENA countries, in Sub-Africa, Central America, etc., etc. So winning hearts everywhere, like
Yes, and you gave me a nice segue, for my next question, which was on advertisers actually. How has the advertisers' perception of these two characters evolved in the past 10 years? Because look, I go to my sister's place and I see my nephew carrying a Motu Patlu tiffin box to to school. Or there is a Motu Patlu statue at the Madame Tussauds museum in Delhi.
Absolutely.
Then the second part to that question, over to you, Anu, is what are the kind of branded content solutions that you guys are developing for advertisers?
Right.
So Nina, let's begin with you.
We have advertisers across a genre of categories, so right from your FMCG, which is oral care, confectionery, food and beverage, snacks, all of that. We have toys. Of late, of course, we have e-commerce, we have consumer durables, we had auto, we had edtech. So a whole lot of categories came on board, not just because we were, delivering target audience, which is kids, but a whole lot of co-viewership with families and the gatekeepers as well. and the fact that we were delivering the brand message in a very innovative, engaging manner. It was not a simple vanilla 20-second spot, but it was about curating and creating engaging content with the advertiser, which was being delivered to the target audience. And what I mean by that was that there were several ways of doing that, and there was promotional licensing where we made brand films along with Motu Patlu. There was, for example, in-show placement. And then, of course, there was licensing deals that we did. So there were a series of solutions and integrations that added value to the advertisers and then took that message to their target audience so differently.
Yeah. Anu?
As a content maker, we have to be slightly, or rather be very careful about what are the kind of products that we are, trying to bring it together with these two characters. One has to be very mindful in the kids category. One has to be mindful of the gatekeeper, which are the parents. So we have to be very careful in terms of what are the kind of brands that we really want to associate ourselves with. Obviously, as I said, this probably is, today we have created close to 11 IPs in 11 years, but this is the IP which is most sought after by most of the brands out there which wants to associate with Nickelodeon. But as I said, as a content creator, we have to be very, very mindful, and we are choosy about it.
Okay.
So,
Nina, you made a very interesting point in the beginning. You said that back then there was a need gap, that there was no homegrown content for kids in the India market. So what is the need of the hour now?
I think that need continues because as you go along, and if I look back into the last decade, we would have noticed that at Nickelodeon and at Viacom18, what we did was we didn't stop with Motu Patlu. And the reason why we think we did that was because we believe that to be at the pole position, you need to have the width and depth of content. Okay, and we realized that there were so many white spaces and genres in the category that have not been tapped by indigenous home tunes. And that is why we've actually come IP after IP after IP in different genres. So we had magic with Rudra, we had action and adventure with Shiva, we had Bhoot Bandhus in the ghost genre, and so many different white spaces that we kind of filled the gap with, and we had 11 IPs over 11 years. And to me, that is going nowhere because there is so much more to do in this category. There are so many more white spaces to tap. See, what happens with these IPs are, they have the Indian sensibilities. So they very quickly capture the hearts and minds of children. And with kids, it's about a comfort level. So I love this character and I want to see more of it every day, 3 times a day, 4 times a day. And as you create more and more characters, that happens with a series of characters. Because, there is action in some, there is chase in some, there is comedy in some, there is total fantasy in another, then there is a ghost in another. So, our last 2 IPs have also been extremely successfully, like Chiku and Bunty and Bhoot Bandhus.
So there is no doubt that homegrown is a large part of your strategy, and it's here to stay. How has, Anu, the whole pandemic and the digital adoption in the India market over the past 2 years impacted that, or has had an impact on that homegrown content strategy for Nick?
Kids content is pretty much, there is not too much of difference what you create for, let's say, a linear channel or what you create for the digital channel. The basic mood of the content stays the same. And that's why the advantage that kids content have is it's agnostic to, it's screen agnostic. You can play the same kind of content, you'll find viewers of that content everywhere. Unlike the content which is made for the adults, let's say for a GC, it's going to be very different. Whereas the same content for adults on a digital platform will be very different.
What is the strategy for Motu Patlu, of course, and the other IPs of Nick in the coming months?
There has been a whole journey of Motu Patlu that has happened over the years, and I think we are about to get into a new season where I'm going to let Anu secret out, but we're introducing a new character.
Oh, is it?
Yes. So that's going to be wonderful because we've already told 1,000 stories and we'll tell many more. And that's the evergreen Motu Patlu for you. So by the way, in 2018, Google Trends declared Motu Patlu as the highest searched Indian television show worldwide.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's
So that's how
wonderful.
iconic
Yeah.
they really are,
Yeah.
and I know that in fact on Children's Day we have a brand new television movie of Motu Patlu premiering.
Ah, that's wonderful.
So lots in store for
Yeah.
Motu Patlu, like you
Indeed,
said.
and looking forward to that. Anu, what is the content pipeline in the coming months?
It's the team is pretty busy. We have 2 domestic shows which are in pipeline, but I think the icing of the cake is we have a global show, which is actually a co-production between Nickelodeon India and Nickelodeon International, and this show is being made for the all the Nick channels globally. It's going to get premiered on all the Nick channels globally.
Yeah, all the best for these plans. Thank you so much. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure. Thank you very much.